Hi, I am Kelley Adelsman. I am the host of Spotlight on Spirit, a podcast where it is safe to talk about all things faith, all things belief, all things religion. The conversations that we have are raw, they're unscripted, they are guided by some questions. And so I never really know where the conversation will lead us. I'm always very thankful for the individuals that agree to come on this podcast because there isn't really a podcast like it out there amongst the sea of podcasts. We are hosted by the Minnesota American Legion, and our main audience, of course, is veterans and all the family members and individuals that are interested in who are those individuals that serve our United States Armed Forces and what makes up their belief systems, because we are a hodgepodge. There are over 200 recognized religions that the Department of Defense recognizes. In that, there are also a myriad, of philosophies that individuals choose to live their lives by. And this podcast, Spotlight on Spirit, is the place where we unpack them a little bit and see how they inform your purpose in this world, your identity, as well as your value systems. There are commonalities to being a human that we all share. And Spotlight on Spirit is the place where we discover that. I ask the people that come on, the guests, I send them these questions, and then throughout the conversation, we might get to some of them, we might get to all of them. So I thought it might be helpful to know a little bit more about me. And really what urged me create this podcast. And I was afforded the opportunity from a Minnesota American Legion member, and her name is Teresa Ash. She heads up our media and communication team for the Department of Minnesota, because reaching people where they're at the times when they have the availability to listen in and to learn more is now available through social media. And so thank you, Teresa. And so I'm going to answer some of the questions, help frame the discussions that we have here on Spotlight on Spirit. And one of them is, did you have a faith or a spiritual belief system that you were raised in? I was raised in the faith system of, I'm actually ordained in the Converge denomination, which used to be Baptist General Conference, but the Baptist General Conference, which has its roots in the Swedish heritage, recognized that there are individuals that fall under their faith that believe what they believe worldwide. And it is also an organization or a belief system that you can join up if you have the same belief systems. And so if you believe this, you can converge with us, you can join alongside. Is a little bit of a different structure than some other religious groups. Catholicism was where I was grounded, and I always felt safe, accepted during Mass or during worship services, and I enjoyed the sounds, I enjoyed the smells, I enjoyed actually getting up and down, the processes of it. It was lovely for me to be a part of something that was bigger than me. I belonged in it, I belonged with it. And I think if we talk to most people, they will share stories out of their faith groups also that hit on those commonalities. And so that's where I got my spiritual belief start. One of the things that I'm always curious about with the military is, when were your beliefs shaken? When were they challenged? Did they change in the military service? I hear from so many in the military where what they believe is challenged by what they encounter, what they do. They might come out with a different understanding. It might deepen their faith group. They might abandon it altogether. Everyone is different, and how they approach what they believe is God's, this existential, beyond us creator or creators. We all have a relationship with, and it transforms throughout our life. And so for me, my faith has been challenged, and it continues to be challenged by what I understand and know who God is. And I realize that I know less and less about who God is. I learn as I grow older that I can appreciate and sit under trust that what I don't know is okay. And I can be very appreciative of the fact that there are so many common concerns and connections that we have as human beings. Not one of us human beings desires to be alone. Each one of us wants to be known, to be loved, to be valued. And that's where our spirituality is housed. Our spirituality is that connection that we have with one another that nourishes or challenges our soul, which is our base identity, if you will. And we're housed in this physical body. My faith completely informs my moral compass and my ethical compass. I believe that there are fixed truths that every single one of us have, and a lot of it is informed by this fact of being known, being valued, being safe. That informs and works alongside our cognition and our physical body. You know, our cells know when we're not safe. Our psyche operates differently when we are living in an unsafe place. You know, is your God safe? Did your God create you? Are you a product of evolution where there's value in that? Another question I ask is, where do you find peace? Everybody finds peace differently. I find my strongest and most serene peace outside, in nature, in the trees. Some of my earliest memories are up northern Wisconsin, where the trees, the evergreens, are huge, and the wind will rustle through them and blow through them gently, and they make a soft rushing sound that brings me peace. Also brings me peace when I'm out in nature and I'm surrounded by sounds or the lack thereof, when my monkey mind has the opportunity to hear silence. Where is my belief with suicide? It has transformed over the years. I believe that the world we're living in has challenges that are beyond our comprehension. And I believe to a large degree that how well connected we are with others can determine our sense of safety in this world. What type of music do you listen to, or, are there go-to songs? I am currently in love with Jon Batiste's music. Absolutely in love with how he uses the gift of music to help us on our path in this world. The commonalities that we all have, he's able to put into music. So right now, Jon Batiste is on my playlist. Enjoy him tremendously. What are some other questions? One of the questions that I like to ask also is, are there any books or movies that you can recommend? I am a Hobbit fan. J.R.R. Tolkien's books, I first read them when I was probably in middle school, and they were quite entertaining. They took me on quite a fantasy ride, and hobbits and caves and trolls and orcs and all these things grabbed a hold of me and kept me going through, I don't know how many pages J.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings is. And then when it came out on the movie screen, of course I had to go see it. 3 hours of sheer entertainment. But Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit gets at those deeper issues of good and evil, of nameless individuals that blindlessly obey versus individuals, and then the ring, the struggle to have something of value and to have a secret, and how it can transform you, this sense for greed, and then to be in power. These human challenges and these human experiences that we have that form our morality. We see them on the big screen nowadays, and they can inform us. And so Lord of the Rings is one of those that continuously feeds me and challenges me, as well as my scripture readings. Other books that are on my top list at this point, I'm going to go through them. I actually have 5 of them that I would love to show you. The first one is Veterans in Crisis. I had Dr. Lansing on Spotlight on Spirit a while ago. Go look at that podcast and listen in, if you will. Dr. Lansing has decades of experience serving veterans. He's a veteran himself. I've never encountered a book like Veterans in Crisis that this book is. It is, although it's over 500 pages, it doesn't feel like a heavy document or a book you have to get through. It's divided into little signets throughout that approach different aspects of PTSD, the historical PTSD, shell shock, and even in Greek and Roman mythology, where you'll find PTSD. And in the sacred scriptures, you'll also find individuals that evidence PTSD, which we know today. And so he ties the commonality of trauma out on the battlefield and what that looks like, and what that looks like when you come home, and how we have approached it, how we have treated it or not treated it, how we've shunned it, or how we have attempted to heal it through different modalities, and what soldiers usually will find is living with and not letting it inform them completely, but be a part of their experience. Is that even possible? And so Veterans in Crisis by Veterans Empowered. The authors are Dr. Steve Lansing and Colonel retired B. Wayne Quist. And Wayne Quist is a consummate, curious historian. And so a lot of the information that is in this book came from him. Another book that I found just nourished me and fed me right where I needed to be was Recapturing the Wonder. And it's by Mike Cosper. And this was one of those books that I just bought on the spur of the moment. And thank God I did, because it has challenged me. And I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I have been experiencing. And this is exactly some of the things that I noodle on too. You know, bringing scripture to life. If you are a Christian, because he's a Christian. And so one of the things he talks about, I wondered if our inability to read is because of laziness, because it's much easier to keep people engaged with noise and lights. And so discipline is something that challenges our laziness to not do anything. Discipline is where we develop into what we are capable of becoming, but it does require effort. And there's nothing in this world that makes us become more of who we're capable of being, except for discipline and schedules and these practices. And they are in all aspects of our lives. Personal develop, professional develop, hobbies, practice. You become what you give your mind to. The body keeps the score. This is, if you will, a Bible for many therapists and counselors and religious leaders. The Brain, Mind, and Body and the Healing of Trauma by Bessel van der Kolk, who's a doctor. It's loaded with information about how we holistically live in this world, live in our body, live in our mind, live in our soul, and how the tangible and the non-tangible influences us. But the research that he did was and continues to be groundbreaking in the very fact that your cells have memory and they keep track of our experiences. What a better reminder could there possibly be to encourage us to be kind, to be compassionate, to be loving? Because not only are our cells influenced by our actions, but others' cells at the cellular level, the DNA level. The body keeps the score. David Brooks is a well-known speaker and author. How to Know a Person. The art of seeing others deeply and being deeply seen. That's the crux of every single human being. There's not a human being alive, unless they've got something to hide, that doesn't want to be seen, to be valued, to be loved, to be nourished, to be challenged, to become that which is within them, but they need someone else alongside them to see them. He takes a historical look at DNA and families and how we become who we are, sometimes through our social constructs, sometimes through our family constructs, sometimes through our desires. David Brooks, How to Know a Person. I saw him a while ago when this book first came out at Bethel University with my mother-in-law. And I was so excited because our seats we were 30 feet away from him. And it was nice to be able to hear him unpack the writing of the book and who he was, as well as what he understands his purpose in this world is and the opportunities he's been afforded to live out and develop his purpose. Finally, my last book is a book that I bought on the spur of the moment again, Tish Harrison Warren, Prayer in the Night for Those Who Work or Watch or Weep. And she takes and walks you through Compline, the last prayer of the evening, when you're unwinding your mind and you're laying to rest all the troubles of the day and you're attempting to put to rest those things that are out in the future. She takes a historical look as well as a present day look at who we are in the night. Who do we talk to? Who informs us? And her writing style just grabs your soul. And this is a book I now have on my yearly read list. I look forward to it. I've read it for this year. I'm looking forward to, God willing, I have another year to read it again because it has so many stories and there's so many layers to what she reads. And it's so approachable. She lays out who she is and the struggles that she goes through in praying and gravitating towards trusting, because that's the biggest human issue, isn't it? Trusting, deciding what we're going to believe and how we're going to live our lives, and then trusting that what we give ourselves to is worthy of our time, worthy of our effort, as well as beyond us, because all of us desire connection. I hope you will tune into Spotlight on Spirit on a regular basis. I pray that it will nourish you. The back story of Spotlight on Spirit is to inform your purpose, to inform your value, and to inform your identity, because you are a valued human being with a purpose. Thanks for your time.